These are two ocean routes that should revolutionize global shipping, yet almost no commercial vessel dares to use them. Between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, south of South America, you'll find the Drake Passage and the Strait of Magellan, direct routes that could save thousands of miles compared to sailing around entire continents. But here's what's remarkable. Out of the 14,000 ships that need to travel from one ocean to the other each year, fewer than 100 brave the Drake Passage. The Strait of Magellan, even though it's more protected, attracts only 1,500 to 2,000 vessels annually. The Panama Canal handles the vast majority of interoceanic traffic, despite requiring ships to travel thousands of miles north. The real reason ships avoid these southern routes has nothing to do with distance. For many voyages, particularly between Europe and Asia's western ports, or between South America's east and west coasts, these passages actually offer significantly shorter routes. The answer lies in some of the most violent waters on Earth, where wave heights regularly exceed 10 meters, that's 33 feet, and extreme waves can tower 30 meters or higher. Picture a 10-story building of water racing toward your ship. To understand why these passages remain largely abandoned by commercial shipping, we need to return to 1520, when Ferdinand Magellan discovered the strait that now bears his name. For the first time, Europeans had found a way to sail from the Atlantic to the Pacific without circumnavigating Africa. This discovery should have transformed global trade. The passage proved treacherous, yes, but ships could navigate it, and they did. For nearly 4 centuries, it remained an important maritime route. Then, in 1578, Sir Francis Drake made an accidental discovery that would terrify sailors for centuries to come. After passing through the Strait of Magellan, a powerful storm blew Drake far south, where he found himself in open water between Cape Horn and Antarctica. This 800-kilometer-wide passage would eventually bear his name, and expedition sailing veteran Skip Novak describes it perfectly. It's the Mount Everest of sailing. But what exactly makes these waters so dangerous? The answer combines geography and physics in terrifying ways. The Drake Passage stands alone as the only place on Earth where the ocean flows completely around the globe, uninterrupted by land. This unique geography creates the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, which moves 600 times more water than the Amazon River. When this massive current meets the convergence of the Atlantic, Pacific and Southern Oceans, sailors face what they call confused seas, waves attacking from multiple directions, creating chaotic, unpredictable conditions. The statistics paint a clearer picture than any description could. Ships in the Drake Passage encounter storms approximately 200 days per year. Wind speeds frequently blast past 70 kilometers per hour, and storms can rage at 130 kilometers per hour. These aren't occasional hazards, they define the passage. Sailors developed a traditional saying about these latitudes that captures their terror perfectly. Below 40 degrees south there is no law. Below 50 degrees south there is no God. The Strait of Magellan might appear safer at first glance. It offers more protection, winding through 570 kilometers of channels between the mainland and Tierra del Fuego. But this protection creates its own nightmares. The passage narrows dramatically in places, with some sections barely accommodating large modern vessels. Currents rush through at 8 knots or more, and when winds funnel through the mountains, they create willy-waws, sudden, violent gusts that can exceed 100 knots without warning. Modern technology has blessed us with ships that handle these conditions better than the wooden sailing vessels of centuries past. So why don't shipping companies embrace these routes? The answer reveals itself through economics and reliability. Let me show you the real costs. A typical transit through the Panama Canal charges a large container ship between $400,000 and $500,000. That price tag seems steep until you calculate the Drake Passage alternative. Just the additional fuel costs for battling through Drake storms run between $500,000 and $1 million. But fuel only begins the expense sheet. Insurance premiums skyrocket by 300 to 500% for vessels attempting the Drake Passage. And then time becomes money. Weather delays in the Drake Passage average 3 to 7 days. In today's shipping industry, where just-in-time delivery drives everything, A week's delay can trigger millions in contract penalties and lost business. The Panama Canal, despite its hefty fees, delivers predictability. Ships know exactly when they'll enter and exit. In the Drake Passage, you might encounter calm seas, what expedition cruisers optimistically label Drake Lake. Or the Drake Shake might greet you instead, where your cargo and possibly your ship end up damaged or resting on the ocean floor. The ocean floor beneath the Drake Passage plunges to 4,000 meters, 13,000 feet of cold, dark water. When something goes wrong, there's no shallow water to ground on, no nearby port for emergency repairs. The closest major ports lie thousands of miles away. The Chilean Navy and Argentine Naval Prefecture patrol these waters and assist vessels in distress, but when 30-meter seas are tossing your ship around like a toy, even rescue becomes nearly impossible. History drove this harsh reality home repeatedly during the Age of Sail. In 1905, the four-masted bark Susanna wrecked at Cape Horn, joining hundreds of sailing ships lost attempting to round the Horn. Captain William Bligh, who gained fame from the mutiny on the Bounty, failed 3 times before successfully navigating the Cape Horn Passage. These weren't amateur sailors making rookie mistakes. They ranked among the finest mariners of their era, yet the passage defeated them repeatedly. Everything changed when the Panama Canal opened in 1914. Ships suddenly gained a safe, predictable alternative. Commercial traffic through the southern passages plummeted. The Pamir became the last commercial sailing ship to regularly round Cape Horn in 1949. After that, the Drake Passage and Cape Horn transformed into the exclusive domain of adventurers and the rare bulk carrier whose cargo justified the extraordinary risk. But the Strait of Magellan tells a slightly different story. It attracts more traffic than Drake Passage, roughly 1,500 to 2,000 vessels annually compared to Drake's fewer than 100. Most of these are smaller vessels, local traffic, and ships hauling raw materials from South America, where the economics align differently. The Chilean government continues investing in navigation improvements through the strait, but it remains a challenging passage demanding expert local pilots and cooperative weather. There's a fascinating cultural tradition attached to these passages. Crew members who successfully traverse Cape Horn earn the right to wear a gold earring and place one foot on the table while dining. This mark of respect acknowledges survival of one of the ocean's ultimate challenges. The Panama Canal's biggest tradition? Taking photos of the locks. Climate change has introduced new variables into this equation. Some experts suggest changing weather patterns might eventually tame the Drake Passage. Others warn that climate change could spawn even more extreme weather events. There's also growing concern about Antarctic icebergs occasionally drifting into shipping lanes, adding fresh hazards to an already lethal route. The 2023 to 2024 Panama Canal drought sparked minor renewed interest in alternatives. With the canal implementing transit restrictions, some shipping companies found themselves evaluating other options. But even facing these restrictions, the vast majority chose to wait for canal access or sail the long route around Africa rather than challenge the southern passages. Various proposals for alternatives have surfaced over the years. The concept of a bi-oceanic corridor through Patagonia resurfaces periodically. Chinese interests have explored developing South American alternative routes. There's even renewed discussion about reviving the Nicaragua Canal project. But today, the Panama Canal, despite its limitations and occasional problems, remains the only practical option for most commercial shipping. The economics simply crush any romantic notions about these routes. When you total the fuel costs, insurance premiums, potential delays, cargo risk, and danger to crew, the southern passages become financial suicide for regular commercial shipping. A company might trim distance, but they hemorrhage money, sacrifice reliability, and potentially lose ships and lives. This reality leaves the Drake Passage and Cape Horn to a small, specific community of users. Expedition cruise companies like Hurtigruten and Lindblad Expeditions actually celebrate the danger as part of the adventure. Passengers pay premium prices specifically to experience the Drake Shake, to earn their Cape Horn credentials. The Chilean and Argentine navies patrol these waters out of necessity. Research vessels heading to Antarctica have no alternative route, and occasionally, when conditions and cargo align perfectly, a bulk carrier will attempt the journey. The Strait of Magellan maintains its specialized role, handling regional traffic and specific cargo where traditional economics don't apply. The Chilean government persists in infrastructure investment and navigation improvements, hoping to boost traffic. But they're battling fundamental realities: narrow channels, unpredictable winds, and currents that refuse to cooperate. Technology has made progress. Advanced ship stabilization systems make rough passages more tolerable than even 20 years ago. Modern weather prediction has enhanced forecasting for the Drake Passage, but technology hits its limits against 10-story waves and hurricane-force winds that howl 200 days a year. The Drake Passage remains unchanged at its core, a place where normal rules evaporate. Three oceans collide here in perpetual combat. Antarctica lies to the south, while the nearest northern land sits 500 miles away. Nature writes the rules here, and she writes them in storm and wave. So next time you spot a product labeled "Made in Asia" in a European store, or the reverse, remember its journey. That item almost certainly avoided the shortest route. It traveled thousands of extra miles to bypass some of Earth's most dangerous waters. Its journey included hundreds of thousands of dollars in Panama Canal fees or extra weeks sailing around entire continents. Because the true cost of sailing the southern passages isn't measured in miles. It's calculated in risk, unpredictability, and the very real possibility that neither ship nor cargo will complete the voyage. The Drake Passage and Strait of Magellan remain what centuries have proven them to be: geographical shortcuts that shortcut nothing. They remind us that in our interconnected global economy, the safest route, the most predictable route, will always triumph over the shortest route. And until someone discovers how to calm 10-meter waves and silence hurricane-force winds, the vast majority of ships will continue taking the long way around, leaving these southern passages to the adventurous few who carry reasons beyond commerce to brave some of the most unforgiving waters on our planet.